Shopify Masters is powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. To get an extended 30-day trial, visit shopify.com/masters.
For me, it was one of the most important investments we ever made because you live with your logo forever or variations of it. And if you get it right, it'll pay off.
Hey, my name is Felix. I'm the host of Shopify Masters. Each week, we learn the keys to success from e-commerce experts and entrepreneurs like you. In this episode, you'll learn why it's important to nail down the branding right from the beginning, especially in the fashion industry, how to work with a creative agency to create your brand identity, and the challenges of balancing a product that needs to have form and function. Today, I'm joined by Oliver Cousins from map.cc. That's MAAP.cc. MAP sells premium cycling apparel designed in Melbourne, Australia, and was started in 2014. Welcome, Oliver.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, excited to have you on. So tell us a little bit more about the store and the apparel that you sell.
So yeah, as you mentioned, it's we're a cycling apparel company based in Melbourne. We focus on the premium end of the scale, and that's something that we launched a couple of years ago now, probably November 2014. It's something I started with my business partner Jared, who's a long-term friend of mine, and it was really, born out of our passion for the industry and something we started with really no expectations, but it was, driven by the want to create something for ourselves, and that's essentially how we sort of initially started talking about it, and then jumping headfirst into creating something, which has resulted in MAP. So it's been quite a fun ride along the way.
Very cool. So what are your backgrounds? Did you guys work in the industry before starting a business in it?
Yeah, I had worked in the surf and streetwear industry. So I worked previously for Globe International, which is a skate shoe company. Under their umbrella, they had a diverse group of brands, including the Stussy license for Australia, and I was the menswear designer for them. I guess I was with Globe for about 12 years all up, and finished as the design director. My background is apparel fashion design, so not a graphic background, but more sort of a technical pattern making, construction, that type of thing, which I studied down here in Geelong. Jared's background was modelling, so he had a lot of experience working with various brands, and that's how I came to know him originally. And aside from that, he ran his own building business, so he had sort of that base knowledge of setting up a company, the finances, accounting, etc. That essentially I had no experience in. So really the partnership formed pretty well, and along the way, our sort of responsibilities have sort of naturally, assigned themselves to each of us. So it's been a really good fit in that regard. So.
Did you both jump into this business right away? Because you mentioned that you started without much expectation. So was this something that you went into full time, or were you running this on the side while you guys both still had some day jobs that you were doing?
That's right. Yeah, I was working full time for Globe and actually really enjoying what I was doing. As I said, I've been there for 12 years and really never had ambitions of working for myself. It wasn't something that I'd sort of always said to myself that one day I'll do. So I was quite happy working, for the company and working my way up. And I had a really good relationship with the employers. However, I guess my interests changed as I grew up and I had kids. My interest sort of shifted from surfing to cycling, and that's I guess what I became passionate about, and that's we just wanted to do it more from a creative perspective and something that we wanted to. It was a product that we wanted to develop. Obviously, we saw a gap in the market, and we were sort of confused as to why no one had really addressed what we were looking for, and that sort of that was exciting to us. But yeah, it was always started as I say a passion project, but it was started as a side project, and but quickly after launch, or during the launch process, and as soon as we started to share the brand, we quickly knew that it was going to be something more than that. So essentially, the brand in development took about 8 months to prepare in terms of our sampling process, creating the brand identity, visiting the factory, refining our product and sort of getting it all ready. And that was all done, on the couch after hours on weekends. It was quite stressful, quite a lot of work, but it was definitely something that we were excited about. And then after launch, Jared's essentially wound down his building business to dedicate more time to the operations side of things. And I continued to work full-time for Globe. So it was good because it didn't put too much pressure on the business to make money, or it meant that the money that we did make could go straight back into the business to pay for the next round of production. So, ultimately it was a great way to do things because we sort of just let the business self-fund and grow. But I think it wasn't until November last year, so 2015, that I was able to make the decision to go full-time. So I ended up resigning from my work, and the company asked me for a long 6-month transition period, which I was happy to do. Again, it was that sort of transition for me, which gave me a bit of money on the side as well, but allowed me to work full-time, a couple of days a week on MAP while they were looking for my replacement and that kind of thing. So it was a really great way to do things. I guess, I had to be upfront and honest with the company when we started MAP, and they weren't obviously super stoked about it, but they appreciated the honesty, and then to repay them for that trust that they gave me in order to start the brand. I was happy to give them a 6-month transition. Or six-month notice period, for example. So
you guys weren't direct competitors, right? Because you were creating an apparel business in the cycling industry, and it sounded like the company you're working at before, was it more like a streetwear brand?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so not direct competitors. I guess I was seen as a relatively senior member of the product team at Globe, and I guess it was more a conflict of time and interest. So as I was in a creative role for them, so essentially they would want me spending my time researching and thinking about the surf industry and Globe products rather than, switching off at 5 o'clock to go and work on your own project. I think that was more where they saw the conflict rather than us competing in the same segment of the market. So at the time, I didn't agree with that, but now running having our own business now, I can see, where their concerns are, so, but as I said, it was amicable, and, I think they were just sort of letting me know what the boundaries were at that point, and I was grateful for them sort of, letting me sort of continue with what I wanted to do, which was right. Great. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably like 99% of entrepreneurs will start off this way. Probably most listeners are in the situation where they are working a day job and they are starting a business on the side after work, on the weekends. How did you mentioned that there were some boundaries that you were able to establish with your employer. How did you manage this? I guess, how did you navigate this potential conflict of interest where they expected you to, I guess, constantly be thinking creatively about your day job's brand, but then now you wanted to shift your attention after work hours towards building your own brand? How did you make sure that they were, as okay with it as possible?
Yeah, I guess, look, as I said, I didn't really see the conflict. I just had to perform, I think I was really careful not to get distracted during work hours. I think it's really hard, particularly with iPhones, and you've got multiple email accounts and people people calling. I just had to remain focused on the job at hand with Globe during the day, or try to at least. And then for me, it was like, when you're at home, it's fair game. But I think what really helped was having Jared available during business hours. So he, as I said, he sort of wound down the building company, was still consulting with fashion brands as with his modelling projects, but that was more flexible. So really, he became the point of contact during business hours, which I think if I didn't have that, it just would have been too stressful to try and manage both. So I think that was a huge advantage. And then we would as soon as I got home, I'd just sort of have dinner and, jump on the laptop and be able to try and get through what I needed to do. So, look, I guess it was just showing the company that you're committed, and for me, I was essentially trying to output the same quality work that I was, prior to Matt. So, I guess there's other conflicts. I used to do a lot of travel for Globe, in terms of sales meetings, research trips, buying, looking at the market, assessing trends and that kind of thing. So I guess at that point, they start to get concerned. Am I, walking into every second cycling shop that's in there in London, or am I sort of focused on, the task at hand? So there's a lot of trust that needs to be there between the employer and employee. And I think, I didn't want to sneak around. I didn't want to be dishonest, because I think that puts a lot of stress on you as well. And that's not something you need to sort of have to worry about. Like, you want to just sort of make sure it's on the table and there's no conflict or no sort of reason for them to get their nose out of joint. So, and look, it wasn't perfect. They weren't super happy, as I said. Like, they prefer me not to do it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I was really passionate about it, so I was going to do it regardless, and I think they understood that. So they tried to make it work, and then ultimately it didn't work in their favour. It was something that it could have gone either way. It could have been a project that fizzled out and became nothing, and I would still be at Globe and enjoying myself, or it could have been as it was. It became success, and I ended up leaving the company. So it could have easily gone the other way.
Mm-hmm. So what made you change your mind? Because again, when you first started off, you had no intentions of it, had no expectations, but then after about a year in business, you made that decision to leave your day job, your senior position at this company, to pursue your own business. What made you change your mind?
Oh, look, I mean, pretty much from the launch of the brand, which was November 2014, we knew that it would be a success. Like, we had really good feedback. We had good placement in premium stores that we'd put on our wish list. At that point, I was like, okay, this is going to become something for sure. So then it became a case of, okay, we need to manage this. Obviously, we can't support two salaries straight off the bat. So then it became a case of, all right, let's try and build this, steadily or organically, or how we originally planned. And then it wasn't until we sort of looked back and said, okay, well, we're in a pretty good situation here financially that we can justify both of us working full time. And I think that happened. I guess I resigned probably 6 months after it was launched, and then, as I said, I had the 6 month transition. So within a year, it was supporting both of Jared and myself, and so I think that was a lot of people tried to talk us out of that as well, because that was sort of like, no one pays themselves a salary in the first year. You're crazy. What are you doing? But it was a case of, we can't do both of these jobs forever. Like, it was stressful, and I think if it wasn't able to support us within, let's say, 18 months or 2 years, I would have made a choice to probably go back to the full-time job, because it's sort of, it was probably the hardest 18 months of my life trying to do both. So work-wise, I guess we were lucky. We were confident that it could support us, and we had some good advice. We partnered with a good accountant firm that's been sort of instrumental in guiding us along the way and planning. So that was important. So we sort of had a bit of sales history, or enough sales history that we could forecast off, and we had some sort of financial advice that gave us a bit more confidence. So at that point, it didn't feel like a risk, and then we did it, and we haven't looked back since. So that's been lucky. It hasn't been like, it's not something we've sort of looked back on and gone, shit, was that a bit premature? It was just something that the business needed. It needed that. It was growing fast, and it needed time spent on it to do it properly. So, it wasn't really a big decision. It was just something we jumped into.
Can you say more about why you both felt that it wasn't that big of a risk to jump to not just start the business, but to invest the time, the money, energy into it, and then of course 6 months later already both going into it full time? What did you see about the business, the marketplace, that made you realize that this wasn't going to be as large of a risk?
Yeah, I guess we were just very confident that what we had planned to create wasn't really in the market, or there were obviously other cycling brands, some really successful, some new, but we had a particular style or preference for fit, fabric combination, aesthetics, that we felt wasn't really being addressed. And, I guess I came into cycling with relatively fresh eyes, only having been riding for 4 or 5 years. And, Jared had a lot more experience in cycling and racing and probably a 12, 15-year background in it. So when I came across and started riding with him a bit more, I had sort of the experience from the surfwear industry, which is saturated with brands, and a lot of great brands have built sort of lifestyle brands out of the industry. There's a lot of good brands in the surf industry, and when I looked at the cycling industry, it was very sports focused, very either race or team oriented. And I guess we wanted something that was more than that. We wanted something that would appeal to people that may have come from a surfing or skateboarding background, or may appreciate design or art, or not 100% cycling focused, and that's and that was us. We love cycling. We're passionate about it, but we also liked good design. We liked fashion. We liked other influences. So and it was just something that we felt, as I said, we were really confident that we could create something that sort of maybe wasn't being addressed, and if we liked it, we knew our friends would like it, and it would just snowball from there. So that was the idea. Now it came to the case of executing it, which was it's easy to sort of determine what the niche is, but then it's you have to go through the process of creating it, and that was a lot of work. And I think because we were so confident in the space, that we from the beginning we really invested in the best that we could do in each aspect. So that meant brand ID and logo development. We used a creative agency who was run by a friend of ours who was, he's actually working for us now. But at that point, that was a big expense. We paid, might have been a couple of $1,000s for logo development, and from there we went into our first range and sample construction, and that was an expensive process. It was a lot of trial and error, multiple rounds of sampling. We decided we want to make it in Italy, which is renowned as the best country for producing cycling apparel. We flew ourselves over to Milan, and we drove to the factory, hired a car, and were paying for hotels, and just to spend time in the factory and really refine what our products were. And again, that was a big investment, without having any forecast of what our sales would be, or no outside investment. So it was a big leap of faith, but it all came back to that confidence of knowing that we were going to produce something exciting that we knew people would like, and that wasn't really being addressed in the market. So look, if it all went up in a blaze of or it all became a big failure, I guess we just sort of thought, well, at least we've got some nice kit that we can wear ourselves. It wasn't going to be a disaster, but it was all initially. Even until this day, it's all been self-funded, and that was something else that was adding to the stress during that development period. It was sort of a case of like, let's put $5,000 in each. Have we got $5,000 Australian that we can sort of put into this pool and use that to build this brand, and that was just coming out of our savings or coming off our mortgage, and we sort of thought, that should be enough. That'll get us, the first sample range and our, brand ID and that kind of thing. That ran out really quickly, and then it became a case of, all right, this month we need another $1,000 in each, and that was a bit of an unknown. We didn't know where it would stop. We didn't have a sort of a concrete business plan with all of our costs. There's a lot of unforeseen costs that would pop up. And, Jared had hit me up and go, all right, I think, I need another $1,500. So we put $1,500 in each, and that was sort of just coming out of our monthly paychecks. Eventually it got to, I think, $18,000 each. That was the original investment. And that was over the period of 8 months. And it was at that point where I was like, this is it. I have no more money. We have no more money to put into this thing. This is getting a little bit serious now. But then we launched our collection, our store, the Shopify store. We had product in stores, in wholesale stores. And finally, we were starting to sort of see some money come back. So at that point, we cut off our investments into the business, and we haven't had to personally loan the business any money since. So it's sort of, as I said, it was, I think, a lot of timing, a lot of luck, a lot of whatever you want to call it, but it's sort of, we didn't dwell on it too much, I guess. And, we're lucky that it sort of was well received. And from there, it's been, it's been growing steadily, which has been.
Yeah, those initial sales must have been a huge relief for both of you after having invested $18,000 each. So you also mentioned, speaking of the numbers, you also mentioned that you partnered with an accounting firm early on. Was this even before ever investing the money into it? At what point did you decide to look for an accountant, or look for some outside help with to I guess look at the numbers, and what were you using them for?
Yeah, initially we were using them for advice on our partnership structure. We wanted to get something on paper just to sort of say, look, it's Jared and myself. We set up a partnership. At that point, we hadn't set up a company. So it was just really early on, bare bones advice. I think they were doing it pro bono at that stage because they were also working for my brother-in-law's company, and my sister, who's an architect, they were also helping her. So it was sort of like we were recommended this firm, and we went and had a meeting with them, and they were just giving us some really basic advice, and then which was actually really helpful at the time, just to try and get a few things sort of, a few of the basics set up, like just, as I said, a partnership agreement, etc. And then I guess once we launched the business, we went back in to see them, and we sat down and did a business plan. So it was something more that we worked through with those guys, and it just gave us a bit of a structure as to what our goals would be for the next 12 months and what our obligations would be. And then they really came into their own probably, at the end of the financial year. We sort of, rolled that into all of our tax and eventually rolling the partnership over into a company structure and setting that up. So, yeah, it started off really sort of basic in terms of advice, and now they're taking on a pretty, I guess, almost full-time role in terms of, our obligations for running a company, plus also, our payroll, our, GST, all the sort of elements, bookkeeping, etc., that we do. So it's they've been a really good asset. As I said, I had no business experience or no experience running a business. I've always worked for a company since I was 21. So Jared had a lot more knowledge about that than I did, and he sort of, as I said, he's sort of managing the finance and sales side of the business. But yeah, I would highly recommend, finding a good, trustworthy accountant that can give you advice along the way, because it's, I think, one of the most time-consuming aspects of running the business. When you really want to be sort of focusing on the product or the sales or the marketing. So it's nice to get that done once and done well and set up properly from the beginning, so you're not having to sort of double back and change things down the track.
When you are looking to partner with somebody, based on your experience, what are some key facts or terms or discussions that you need to have with your partner, with someone that's knowledgeable, like an accountant or a lawyer? What are some key things that you recommend other entrepreneurs pay attention to when they are setting up a partnership?
Look, it's hard to know, but we've always, I guess, sourced our consultants by referral. I think that's probably the most trustworthy way of finding them. We're working with a lawyer who was recommended by my sister-in-law, who's also a lawyer. They've been fantastic. We're working with a merchandiser planner as a consultant who's, managing our production order process, again, through a contact. So I guess for me, that's I would find it hard to just open up the phone book and try and source someone's, or even,
What about with your co-founder? Like, what if you have a co-founder or someone that you're partnering with for your business, in terms of making sure that you have a solid foundation? What were some key facts or key terms that, you don't have to go into details about your particular agreement or arrangement, but for other entrepreneurs out there thinking about partnering with a co-founder, what are some of those key, I guess, facts or terms that they should look into establishing right off the bat?
Look, I think we just went into it saying it was really, really basic for us. It was 50%, investment. It's equal in every single facet. Let's just keep it really simple. Obviously, there was some. You've got to make allowances in the early days when some people feel like they're doing more work than other people due to the restrictions that people have on time and their personal situation and whatnot. But I guess keep it honest and keep it simple. I think it's you just have to be able to trust your partner. I think that was the thing that was, no matter what happens, you've got to have each other's trust. And I think for us, it was the most simple way of doing things. And, it helps that we knew each other for 10 years prior to that. But I think, having a partner in general, I'd highly recommend that. I think particularly when you've got different skill sets. I really couldn't imagine doing the business solo. It's just not something that would be enjoyable either. It's something that you'd really like to share with someone and, sharing the wins, sharing the losses, have someone that's not your family, there's only so much your wife can hear about your business, before they start to go a bit crazy. So it is really, I think, a really important part of what has made Matt successful is having such a great partnership. But look, I couldn't tell you what, other than keeping it simple and keeping it even would be the best thing to set up. We kept it really, as I said, we started as a partnership agreement. It was a one-page document that sort of said, it's 50% shares each. It's very, it was very basic, but it was enough for us just to say this is where we stand, and who knows where it's going to go from there. So now that it's a bit more complex and we've set up company structure, we're looking at doing a shareholders agreement and that kind of thing. But I guess just take it one step at a time. You don't need the in-depth contracts and overcomplicate things in the beginning. You just need a really solid foundation and a good understanding of what the expectations are. I guess it's really important to clarify the job titles and responsibilities. For us, in our situation, it sort of naturally fell that way, and we did have to, we clarified it and put it on paper and made it. You need to be accountable for certain elements of the business, but really, it's been a pretty smooth ride the whole way through, and I guess, a real strength of what MAP is, so.
Right. So you mentioned as well that you both knew right from the beginning that you wanted to invest heavily in the branding, the logo design, and making sure that you got that right off the bat. And this is there are two camps on this, two sides that people take on this. One is to not worry so much about the branding and the logo and just worry about executing first. And then, of course, there's the other side, which you're on, which is that it was really important to have that nailed down from the beginning. Now, why did you feel that was an important aspect to figure out and spend the money on all of this, prior to having a product, prior to having any sales yet? Why did you find that why did you guys decide that it was important to nail that down the right way?
Yeah, I guess that's just my experience through the years of working in the fashion industry. It's a brand that you want to wear. It's something you're going to live with for a long time, and it also represents who we are. If you're creating, furniture or auto goods, or it probably is less important, but for us, we're a design-led business. We're producing premium apparel for, discerning the cyclist essentially, and it's paramount for us. That was helping to create the image of the brand, and helping us define the art direction and what the brand stands for. So for me, it was one of the most important investments we ever made, because you live with your logo forever, or variations of it. And if you get it right, it'll pay off tenfold down the track. Even though it's, as I said, less important for other sectors, it's still something I believe is probably the most important thing to invest in. We were actually at the point where we commissioned an agency to design the logo and weren't happy with the result. We paid the fee and walked away from it because we knew it wasn't at the level, or didn't really fit the vision that we had for the brand. So at that point, we contacted a second agency who happened to be a long-term friend of mine, and it just clicked from day one. The logo development came naturally. It was something that we loved, and we could see the whole brand being built off the back of. So, and we've continued to work with Misha or Mass Current, the agency, since that date, and now Misha has now since become the creative director of MAP and working full time for us. So, it was one of the defining moments of the creation of the brand. And it also gave us, as I said, we had a really clear vision of what the brand was going to be, but that's one thing, and that's you can determine the niche, but then it comes down to creating the brand, and that's we started with the brand identity and the logo development. And once we had that, it gave us extra confidence in what we were going to become, and that was like, well, yeah, I'm even more excited about what this brand's going to be now, because it's starting to become real. I can see what it is. I like what it is. So it just sort of helps give you motivation. It gives you more motivation to keep investing in it, keep throwing some more money into it if you've got that, or keep, expanding the collection or whatever. So it was really, one of those sort of key moments where we just sort of sat back and went, yeah, this is becoming what we want it to. So which was really good.
Yeah, there's definitely value in being proud of what you're working on and having that great design early on. I can see how motivating that could be to keep you going. And when you work with a creative agency to design the brand, design the messaging, and design a logo, what's involved? Like, talk us through how you work. Any tips that you can give on working with a creative agency to make sure that you get what you want out of it at the end of the day?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as I said, I was a design director or design manager for Australia brand. So I had experience in building briefs and creating, essentially a mood board or an idea of what the brand would be with visual references. And so I had done that. I had that prepared and, had some pretty clear references of what we were looking for. So I think if you don't have that sort of not ability, but just the design ability to put together a visual brief, it's just a case of sitting down with the designer. I guess it's important to know that they're capable of achieving what you want to achieve. So I would almost treat it like you're interviewing them, in your first meeting. You want to find out what they do, what they're good at, what their style is. Are they great with typography, or they're great with vector art. What can they bring to the table? And I think that's probably the most important decision, is settling on who will design it. And then it's just a case of working through, what your vision is, what your market is, what you're trying to achieve, what problems you're trying to solve with creating your brand, etc. And then, a good designer like, Misha, who we've been working with, completely understood it. And I think he gave us, straight off the bat, 6 logo ideas, all of which could have been used. They were great. And we knew immediately which one was going to be the one that we ran with. So it was a relatively easy process, because the designer or the agency just understood. Having had no cycling experience or limited cycling experience, just understood exactly what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that people that are not design oriented, that don't have the experience that you have, run into when working with a designer, is that the boundaries are often kind of crossed, right? Because they're entrepreneurs that have this kind of vision, and they sometimes maybe I don't want to say give too much direction, but do too much of the work that you might have been hiring the designer to do. So can you give us, maybe help lay out the boundary between what you should be relying on the designer, what expertise you should be relying on them for, and where you should be kind of contributing to this process?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you let the designer design, like let them choose the fonts, let them propose the color palettes, let them try and create or give them a chance for them to interpret your ideas. I think that's important, and then from there you can work more closely through the process. But they will really draw out of you in the first couple of meetings what it is you're trying to achieve. So, as long as you can sort of paint the picture, of, I guess, the niche that you're trying to attract or trying to capture, even references of styles or products outside the industry that you would like to reference. Look, as much sort of visual references that you think are relevant, but then I'd sort of step back at that point and just let them have a crack at it. For us, it was we really had, because of my, I guess, long months of thinking about the brand, we sort of really had quite a specific, key color in mind, which is the aqua that's become sort of synonymous with our brand. Some really clear, I guess, key brand identifiers, that we wanted to run with. And I think that sort of helped Mass Current really interpret what we were doing. But so I think, I think a good designer will get that information out of you. I wouldn't sort of overthink it, but if you've got some good references and good, key points that are important to you, then you put them on the table at that point, it's not an easy process. I used to work with a lot of freelance artists, to create T-shirt graphics and board short graphics, and throughout the years, of creating ranges for these brands, and I guess we've had great results and poor results. So the only thing I would say is, if you're not really comfortable or really confident in what's being produced, don't settle with it. There's always an opportunity to improve it, I think, and you'll know when you're super happy with the result, and then you can just move on and be proud of it. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of marketing the business and the brand, you mentioned to me that one of the things you guys invest a lot in is original premium creative content, like lifestyle photo shoots, racing. I'm assuming is that racing events, or what are you doing exactly to create? Well, maybe we'll start there. What do you guys invest your time and your capital in to create premium creative content?
Yeah, so we We do some really great photo shoots. We've done, I guess, seasonal campaign shoots that have been in some really epic locations. For us, it's about, showing the epic side of riding your bike, whether it be in the Italian or Swiss Alps, or the Italian Dolomites. We've from the beginning, we've really tried to present the brand in the most premium way we could, and that was working with professional photographers from the beginning, again, which at the time seems like a big expense. And really trying to, use that premium content that we've generated ourselves on our own social media accounts. So, probably Instagram, I would probably say was initially the biggest, was a really important, I guess, medium for us. And we really wanted to, rather than rely on reposts of riders or other people's photos, we wanted to create our own content and really use that as a vehicle to show people, really well art-directed product shots or riding shots, essentially. So I think within the first year, we took our photographer and a couple of riders over to Italy and shot our winter campaign, riding around in the snow up in the mountains over there. Again, that was just a way for us to really make a splash and launch our first winter collection. And we had such an amazing response to it. It's been really well received, and people appreciate the investment that you're making in the brand, and it sort of really helps. I guess, speed up the growth of the brand, but also the perception of the brand and the perception of the size of the brand. For me, that's been probably one of the most important strategies that we've done. On the other side of things, we have, one of our biggest focuses is the technical performance of our product. It is a high performance product, and it's important for us to support the top level of, the racing that's around there, around the country. So we've created our own race teams in the cyclocross market, and also, an amateur race team in Melbourne that's out racing weekends. And, with that, you're creating products for the team exclusively, but then you need to document what they're doing, the racing they're doing, the personalities of the team. And we've used that as a marketing vehicle as well to sort of show through our social media accounts. We also last year sponsored a continental race team, which is sort of, was quite a big financial investment. And, but again, it's important to us because, these guys are racing at a really high level and using the product for what it's intended for. It's a race-oriented product, and they're showing the product performing in real life, and that's social proof, and it's actual proof that it's good product, and these guys are, and these guys are enjoying wearing it, and it's performing. I think you can't really. It's hard to sort of manufacture that. It's so that was a key investment for us, and it's also, it's one thing to provide product to this race team and to sponsor the team, and it's another thing to actually generate content that is good enough to show your customer base. So I think a lot of brands fall down by thinking sponsorship is enough, but I think for us it's you can't have the sponsorship without the premium content. So we would then invest in hiring our own photographers or creating our own video assets and making sure that we're representing the product in the same way that we'd do, if it was a photo shoot. So I think that was key. That sponsorship fell over at the end of the year, and so we've sort of decided to take a break for 2017 on the Continental Race Team, but we're looking again at opportunities for 2018, and it's for us, it's global lifestyle brand, and the analogy is the same as the big surf players like Quicksilver or Billabong or Hurley. They're global surfwear lifestyle brands, and they're selling t-shirts and chinos and board shorts to the average punter.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still supporting the top level of the sport, and they're sponsoring the professionals. They're encouraging the competition and competitive surfing, and it's all aspects of cycling that we want to be involved with. And pro racing for us is a passion of ours, and it's really important to us. So that's something we really want to be involved with from a personal level, but also from a product perspective, and making sure that we're producing products that compete with the best of them in the market, and that's for us, it will always be a part of what MAP is about. So.
Right. Now, when you are investing in creating this premium content, putting a lot of time, energy, and funds into it, of course, you want to make sure that the eyeballs, the people, your target customers actually see it. So what's been helpful for you, especially early on, to promote this premium content that you're creating?
Yeah, look, social media has just been amazing for us. It's Instagram. It's an incredible platform where you can literally, see the reactions instantaneously from new content or new products or anything the brand's working on. So Facebook has become really important for us. It started slower for us. We weren't big Facebook users, but that is a really important part of our strategy in terms of advertising, or being able to show determine demographics in the market and show them relevant content. We have very rarely, or if at all, paid for marketing up until or ad placement in, be it print or online. So we're really relying on the groundswell of the brand to generate editorial with media partners. So visually, it's really been those two channels. The other thing that's been important is media partners and I guess collaborations. For us, there was something we wanted to do from day one, was collaborate with like-minded brands that I guess then open up their audience to what MAP is all about. So initially we did a collaboration with a big Australian cycling media blog called Cycling Tips, and that was fantastic. That with the collaboration that we jointly sold, we then had some really solid free editorial through their channels, and that really drove a lot of traffic to the site, which really established good backlinks and also good traffic.
What was the collaboration?
It was just a kit design. So it was a pair of socks, a bib short, and a jersey that was designed collaboratively with the team at Cycling Tips. Launched on both of our sites and then jointly sold. So, and it sold out really quickly, and then we did a second run, and, it was something that's, is still some of people's favourite kit designs that we've done up until now is still that collaboration. So we put a lot of effort into creating it or making it good. And at that point, Cycling Tips had very rarely done a collaboration. So it made a lot of waves in the industry and gave us a lot of free press, essentially, and it ended up actually being a good money maker for us as well, because we ended up selling through the kits really well. So that was a great example of, giving MAP some credibility in the space, because Cycling Tips were a credible media blog. And, it was one of our first sort of brand partnerships that we did. We moved on to create a shoe with a Swiss company called Suples, which has been really great. And we also developed a waterproof phone wallet with an Australian company called Bellroy, which was also great. So Bellroy was the first company that we worked with that was outside of the cycling space, and they've got a really big following globally. And that was a premium product that really sort of allowed customers to take MAP with them off the bike. So it was the first product that we really produced that was not designed for riding. It was designed for riding, but it was just something that you could use off the bike as well as on the bike. So it was a really good, premium piece for us, and that also, I guess, gave us a lot of awareness through Bellroy's, database, which was good.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk a little bit about the manufacturing of a product like this, because like you were saying, it's not just a well-designed product based on the way it looks, but then also has a lot of technical details that go into it for performance reasons. What are some of the challenges of balancing these two aspects of a product, the design and of course the performance side of it?
I guess for us, we start with the technical aspect of the product. So, that for us is the basis of what the range is about. So we look at what the problem is and then how to solve it. So, for example, we're looking at a deep winter jacket. What are all the things that we need that garment to provide, and we build it from the ground up. So that becomes a case of the trips to the factory in Italy, sourcing materials, building the fit samples, refining the fit samples, really signing off on the construction and the function of the piece. And then once that is confirmed, then we look at the visual design of the garment. And our brand is quite graphic driven. So essentially we have all of our pieces, our blocks ready, our bib shorts, our new jersey fits, our lightweight jackets, heavyweight jackets, our beanies, etc. And then once they're all confirmed, we'll come back through and we'll design, the Winter 17 collection, for example, on top of those templates. So it's it's a two-stage process for us. Yeah, we're not really thinking about the graphics at that point, or so it works in a couple of stages.
So you start with the technical, the performance side first, always, and then layer on the design aspects later.
Yeah, because that's right. Because you're with certain garments, you've got. We do 4 seasons a year. You've got timelines, you've got ideas. And sometimes those ideas aren't refined enough to be ready by the timeline. So you can't really force something into collection, particularly if we're testing products or developing new fits. Sometimes it can be a season it's ready, but more often than not, it's 2 or 3 seasons down the track that it is ready. So you're really sort of working further out than what you would be if it was just a t-shirt or a hoodie or a pair of jeans. You're working, a couple of seasons out more than what you normally would. So once they're ready, then they become relevant to that next season. So you don't want to really sort of design the graphics out too far out. You want to keep that. Keep your color palettes and your graphics relevant to the season that you're working on, whereas the blocks and the fabric and the performance of the garment can be refined over a longer period. So it has to become a two-stage process. A lot of our styles, once we have them confirmed, a great jersey fit that we run, that may run. We're still running the original jersey fit that we designed for the launch of the brand. So it just shows if you get it right and it's well liked, it has a long lifespan as well. So you really do want to make sure that you're putting the effort into the development of the product ahead of launch, so you can, it can be something that sort of lives with you for a long time.
Makes sense. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Oliver. Map.cc is the website, MAAP.cc. Where do you want to see Map this time next year?
I'd like to see it in more countries across the world. I think we're really focusing on Europe and the USA at the moment. We're talking about opening up a second warehouse somewhere in Europe this year, which is a big goal for us. So for me, it would be just allowing more people across the globe to be able to get into the brand, without implications of tax and duties and VAT, etc. So for me, that would be the goal, just to make it more accessible for everybody.
I love it. Thanks again, Oliver.
Cheers, Felix. Thanks, mate.
Here's a sneak peek of what's in store for the next Shopify Masters episode.
Now, generally, that multiple is somewhere between 20x and 30x. So if it's doing $10,000 a month in profit, it's going to fall somewhere between $200,000 and maybe $320,000 in value.
Thanks for listening to Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. To start your store today, visit shopify.com/masters to claim your extended 30-day free trial.